I thank God for the opportunity to meet individuals like Suri, a young man who's 17 years old that is just doing a dynamic work among the homeless, actually working to see that they get micro loans and creative programs. And it's just exciting to see how God is working. My wife, Deborah, she gave us quite a few of the masks that they'll be talking about and learn about this program. And then we wanted to come and wanted to share with you the miracles that are unfolding in all of this. So in a moment, I'm going to go to Mark Lin. Mark's going to be sharing with you concerning this. And maybe you know someone that's doing some very unique work among the homeless. I'd love to have you share that with me. You can write me Larry Rice at P.O. Box 473, St. Louis, Missouri. That's 63166, as we desire to continue to reach out through the love of Christ. It's so exciting to hear about new and innovative things that are taking place out there to help break the cycle of homelessness. So along with the tragedy and disappointment, and sometimes it could be discouragement if we didn't stay on the Word of God, there's also the good news of God moving through special people. In this case, a young man that came up with an idea and now enabling that idea to come forth to fruition. Maybe you have something that the Lord is doing in your life and to help those that are hurting and those that are homeless. Please share it with me. You can write me Larry Rice at P.O. Box 473, St. Louis, Missouri. That's 63166. I'd love to hear from you. And I ask you to continue to keep the work of New Life Evangelistics in your prayers, and also individuals that are doing very unique and special work, such as Suri is doing.
My name is Shri. I started Nano, which is a social initiative which helps people who are unhoused start their own nano businesses and gain financial independence through that. So the idea is to provide people with the resources on how to become a good entrepreneur first. So providing them with an entrepreneurship workshop on the basics of entrepreneurship and how they can sort of start their business, and then give them equipment to start their own businesses. And then finally, the idea is to allow them to become successful and grow their businesses through a business incubator that's set up at their shelter. And then finally, once they are successful, the idea is for them to pay it forward to someone else in the community instead of just giving it back to the program.
So Sri, I'd like to know what actually, how did you get the inspiration to do this? Where did you get the idea to do this from?
I think that one of the large pieces of the inspiration that I had received to actually start Nano actually comes from the Spark program. Spark is a program that the Parkway School has developed as an experiential learning program for students who are interested in a certain field. So there are multiple different strands and branches in Spark, and the branch I attend is the Business Incubator branch. And this is where students come in and learn how to start their own business, become entrepreneurs, and gain professional skills along the way. And Spark was really important to not only helping start Nano, but actually helping continue Nano. And what really inspired me there was the fact that so many students, so many high school students with minimal resources were able to start businesses and actually generate revenue so quickly. And, you know, these aren't people who have college degrees. They're still high school students. And that was really an inspiration to me to show that, you know, people who are unhoused, who have the similar skills, would also be able to do this. And so when I saw that opportunity, I knew that entrepreneurship could be the way to help end homelessness.
Now, what you're saying is with the nano businesses is that a homeless person can actually start their own business.
Yes.
Correct? Okay.
Yes.
All right. So you mentioned Parkway Schools. Have you expanded Nano farther than that?
So Parkway Schools is the school district that I attend, but Nano is actually in multiple shelters throughout the St. Louis area, from shelters such as Loaves and Fishes, to Gateway 180, the Covenant House, Destiny Family and Church, and all the St. Louis City Hope shelters as well.
Okay. Now, help me here. Educate me here. Nano, right, is the name of the business, right, or your organization, right?
Yes.
Okay. So if I'm a homeless person and I sign up with Nano, what would I actually be selling? What kind of business would I actually be in?
Yeah, and I think that one of the really unique parts of Nano is that people who are unhoused can start any business idea that they want. You know, there have been businesses all the way from lawn mowing to catering, to power washing, to people making their own jewelry line or fashions. There have been so many different businesses with Nano that The only thing you need is to have an idea for the business. And so if you were unhoused, you would attend the entrepreneurship workshop, and at the end of the workshop, you would be able to apply by describing your business via the business executive sheet, give a quick summary of your business and what you would need in terms of equipment to get yourself started.
Okay. Why the homeless? Again, I'm trying to reach out. How old are you first?
So I'm 17.
17, right? And this program that you have could actually change the world. It could actually change the unhoused population all over the world. So I'm asking, why at 17, and what inspired you to help the unhoused?
So I would say that the very first inspiration to just help came from my family. My family has always been quite supportive of this, and we've always been quite spiritual. And one thing that I was always told was to share my knowledge, especially at a very young age. So at a very young age, even in middle school, I was volunteering at an orphan school in India to help teach the kids their math. Since I had a different math experience here in the United States that they were not receiving at their school. And what really happened was the very first person who came to me, he was laid off his power washing job, and he was struggling to raise his 2 daughters and elderly mother, and he said, if only I had my own power washer. And that statement really struck me right there. Because that showed me, he had the skills necessary to become successful. The only thing he was lacking was the equipment. And so by providing them with the equipment and providing them with that initial resource that they were needing, it can really help them. And, over time, I saw that more and more people who were approaching me were not just people who were impoverished, but people who were unhoused. And so that's when I really sort of went to shelters and started to do this at shelters.
Okay, so why do you think, and I think it's inspirational, I think you're fantastic, I think you're amazing, to be 17 and have a heart for the unhoused. Now, why do you think that we have what I would call a stigma in our society about the unhoused? Many people don't want to be bothered with them, many people don't want to help them, many people say they're addicts, they're the scum of the earth. Why do you think we have that stigma? Why do you think that people don't want to get involved in helping the unhoused?
I think that there are quite a bit of reasons for this. I think that, 2 things that I can sort of think of off the top of my head are, a lot of people have preconceived notions about these people. They automatically want to believe that these are people who fell into their situation based on their own choices completely. And, that is simply just not true. And a lot of people may want to believe that these are people who are unskilled, and that is also just completely not true. In fact, a majority of these people have started more ventures than quite a bit of the United States population. Their skills in sales and their skills in whatever work they're doing is actually quite massive, and all they're really needing is that initial resource. And another reason I would say that there is a stigma around helping the unhoused is the fact that banks and a lot of the people who are lending they're often not trying to help the unhoused. And without a good intention to help them and without a strong intention to help them, it can be difficult. I think that one instance that really comes to mind is there was a group of 4 members of the Destiny Family and Church Shelter who wanted to sell some of their fruits and vegetables that they had been growing at a garden. And so they were looking for a wooden cart that they could push around so that they would be able to sell these vegetables, and they would be able to generate money. And they went to a lender, and the lender quoted them 27%.
Wow.
I think that, not only is this is first off just completely immoral and it's unethical to quote someone who is in, a difficult situation 27%. And beyond that, even if they had taken the loan, the only thing they would be thinking about was how they could repay such a high interest rate. They would have no time of brain, and they would have no space in their mind to be thinking about how to grow their business. And I think that, our world has come to really revolve around commercialism and, monetary and money. And so it's oftentimes that people, try to simply forget about the unhoused, or they just don't think about them. And without thinking about them, it often becomes difficult to help them.
Now, you also, if I'm correct now, you also have a loan program, correct?
Yes, so Nano lending is a loan program which gives the unhoused loans in the form of equipment. So there's no cash given out, but the form of the loan is an equipment, and there's no interest on the loan. The loan is completely forgivable, and there's no terms and conditions on the loan. And the only thing that is asked of the loan is that once you become successful in your business, you repay to someone else in the community. So you give someone else a piece of equipment that would help them. And the idea here is that an entire community can be uplifted via this, so that if one person becomes successful, they repay to someone else, then they repay to someone else once they become successful, and so on, until the entire community has received that opportunity.
How does a person get in contact? How does a person get started?
So usually Nano will get in contact with local shelters, and in that form we'll try to reach out to shelters who are looking for this and looking for this sort of opportunity to help out their members. But if you would like to contact Nano, if you are the director of a shelter or a case manager at a shelter, or even just a member of a shelter, you can call Nano, and Nano can set up its entrepreneurship workshop and business incubator at your shelter. Contact our email at nanolending@gmail.com or call our number at 314-813-7877.
Okay, give it to me one more time.
Our email is nanolending@gmail.com, and our phone number is 314-813-7877.
And so, Sri, one of the things we want to get to before we close here is that you guys are making masks to give to the unhoused. And we know, as we interact with the unhoused almost every day, that masks are very, very needed. Tell us about the mask project.
So with the onset of COVID, one thing that I had actually realized was a large portion of the population that was almost forgotten about and was at high risk of catching COVID were the unhoused who were in shelters where social distancing isn't quite as easy of an option as it may be for other people. And what I wanted to do was give these people the necessary safety equipment and safety training in order to allow them to stay safe to the best of their ability during this pandemic. So Nano reached out to members of different shelters who had already received equipment as a loan in the form of a sewing machine. And Nano gave them the material needed to make the mask and asked them to make masks for their shelters. And so many people at those shelters helped out and made those masks. And in fact, Nano contacted more people who had not already received a sewing machine and gave them a sewing machine and asked them to sew masks for their shelter. And in fact, so many masks were made that people in other shelters who had not actually had a sewing machine were able to receive these masks, and local businesses were also able to receive these masks. And so it was truly a heartwarming project, and I was so grateful to be living in a community where people, even in difficult situations, found the time, found the effort, and wanted to help other people in difficult situations as well, and wanted to help keep other people safe. And I think it's an example and an inspiration to all of us that these people who are in difficult situations themselves wanted to help others.
Right, and I think it's wonderful, Sri, that you actually are doing this. You're only 17 years old. You could be doing a whole lot of other things, but you have a heart for the unhoused. Not only do you have a heart for them, but you're taking it in word and deed. You're changing lives, and I think that's just so wonderful. I want you, before we close, to give us the information one more time so people can contact Nano.
If you'd like to contact Nano, contact us at our email at nanolending@gmail.com or our phone number 314-813-7877.
Okay, and again, I just want to thank you for your dedication and your love for the unhoused. We need a whole bunch of people like yourself, right? Going out and changing lives and changing, and also knowing that the unhoused are made in the image of God, that they're important, their value, their lives have value. And I think that this Nano project and what you're doing is wonderful. I thank you again for spending time with us and sharing it. And we are going to keep praying for you and Nano to be more and more successful and help more of the unhoused. Thank you for being here today.
Thank you so much for having me on.
Thank you.
This is really exciting to hear this and to see what God is doing through Suri, and how he's teaming up with other high school students and actually getting others to help create this program, and then bringing in the homeless and doing all kinds of training with them and providing with loans so they can start their own businesses. Again, just one of many things that I know are taking place